Welcome to CelebRush, where celebrity narratives are broken down piece by piece and timelines matter. If you want stories with context, receipts, and zero guesswork, this is the channel to follow. Subscribe now and watch the other videos on CelebRush to catch every development as it unfolds. In a private interview in the United States, the Duchess of Sussex reportedly described her relationship with her former boyfriend as the biggest mistake of my life. The comment triggered immediate concern inside the palace, with Charles III demanding a direct explanation for the interview's content at exactly 1840 UK time on February 5, 2026. The king personally initiated a direct video call to Meghan Markle from Windsor Castle. The move followed a classified royal daily briefing that flagged a rapidly escalating media crisis tied to allegations of a previously undisclosed marriage involving Meghan and an American man named Joe Giuliano. Briefing materials referenced resurfaced claims of a sealed marriage record allegedly filed in Bibb County, Georgia, dating back to 2011 and now trending across international media. The documents also referenced Toronto-based chef Corey Vitiello, identified as a former partner of Meghan between 2012 and 2015, placing renewed focus on her pre-royal timeline. According to palace sources, the king's instruction to his advisory team was blunt and unmistakable. Make contact directly, no spokespersons, no intermediaries. The video call reportedly lasted 17 minutes and 39 seconds, confirmed by two senior aides present during the session. During the call, King Charles asked three direct questions. Had Meghan ever legally married Joe Giuliano in the United States? Was any such marriage record sealed by personal request or legal action? And was her recent remark about Corey Vitiello part of a deliberate effort to obscure or reshape her personal history? During tense, behind-the-scenes negotiations with major U.S. streaming platforms, the king's tone stayed calm, controlled, and icy sharp. But one senior advisor later confirmed the line that changed everything. King Charles III reportedly said, "If what I am holding is true, you will be erased from the royal record." That single phrase sent legal teams scrambling to define exactly what erased would mean under royal law. Royal legal analysts immediately mapped out the fallout. It would include the complete removal of Meghan Markle's name, image, and titles from all official royal family websites and publications. She would be permanently excluded from ceremonial and public royal duties, stripped of honorary military and civic patronages, and face the nullification of the Sussex brand's institutional standing. Legal protections tied to UK royal affiliation would be withdrawn, and all Crown Protection Service security coordination linked to individuals operating under Meghan's direction would be terminated. Earlier that same day, a new twist exploded online. A curated audio clip from an off-camera moment during a private interview at a Los Angeles studio surfaced without warning. In the recording, Meghan referred to Corey Vitiello as a mistake from the past, a chapter that should never have existed. The audio was captured on February 3rd by a contracted sound technician working with Well Productions. That technician, later identified as Dominic Travis, reportedly sold the clip to a Canadian gossip blogger for $18,000, setting off a fresh media storm. The leaked clip hit the internet fast under the headline, "Erased and Denied, Meghan's Hidden Toronto Years." Within hours, search traffic for Meghan plus the Giuliano marriage record and Meghan plus Coriello exploded across every major platform. By 1400 GMT on February 5th, the story had snowballed into more than 1,200 global headlines, turning quiet curiosity into full-blown digital chaos. Royal monitoring systems immediately flagged high-risk phrases like fraudulent biography, marriage record, sealed filing, and Toronto relocation timeline. That spike pushed Charles III to demand an emergency Level 3 institutional reputation briefing. Internal materials reviewed by the Windsor Media Compliance Office pointed to one critical window: Meghan's time living in Canada between 2012 and 2015. During that period, Meghan Markle was publicly linked to Corey Vitiello, with records showing she lived in a Midtown Toronto apartment tied to his business address. Investigative sources also highlighted a sudden, unexplained trip Meghan took to New York in August 2015, followed by a clean break from Vitiello and several Toronto-based connections. Then, the internet caught fire again. On February 4th, Vitiello posted a black-and-white photo of a Toronto street corner where he claimed they once lived together. The caption read, "The truth never sleeps." Within 24 hours, the post was reshared more than 600,000 times, reigniting public interest in older legal filings tied to Meghan Markle in both Canada and Georgia. In the United States, Palace advisors are now moving fast, preparing a full legal review of all US-based filings connected to Meghan Markle. Internal Royal Newswire documents confirm that, even before her engagement to Prince Harry, Charles III's office had already issued preliminary inquiries to the Home Office and the Department for Digital, Culture, Media and Sport regarding possible revocations of formal status. By 2000 GMT on February 5th, no official response had been issued from Montecito. However, insiders close to Meghan's inner circle confirmed she had instructed her legal team to prepare preemptive media positioning documents and potential injunction requests tied to what they describe as misrepresented private life allegations. At the same time, staff inside Archewell's press division were ordered to closely monitor all mentions of Joe Giuliano across US and Canadian media outlets. Royal sources near the king say the situation is being treated with constitutional urgency. Any confirmed finding of willful omission or misrepresentation linked to Meghan's entry into the royal institution could trigger a rarely used permanent removal clause. That clause would mean formal expulsion from royal archives and future historical recognition, a move almost never enforced. Meanwhile, plans were already unraveling overseas. For Meghan, Dubai was not meant to be a quiet escape. It was supposed to be a full-scale reinvention. February was set to launch a high-stakes publicity campaign across the Gulf, leading into a controversial March media rollout under a new lifestyle and advocacy brand tentatively titled Ever Arabia. But that vision collapsed overnight. A sudden denial of entry on February 4th, followed by a diplomatic snub from the British royal family on February 6th, shattered the rollout in full public view. The timing could not have been worse. Brand relevance in the US was already slipping, revenue pipelines were collapsing, Netflix paused future development deals, Spotify terminated its contract, and Archewell donations reportedly hit record lows. Internal documents leaked by a former Archewell associate reveal Meghan's team had pinned everything on Dubai, viewing it as the final viable market for a rebrand built around elegance, motherhood, and global diplomacy. Those same documents outline a detailed Q1 emergence tour roadmap, a plan that is now effectively dead on arrival. With Dubai positioned as the anchor, the plans were already mapped out in detail. They included a private women's empowerment roundtable at a luxury resort on Palm Jumeirah, teaser collaborations with 2 Dubai-based fashion houses, and polished B-roll filming for a docuseries segment centered on reconciliation and rebirth. There were also closed-door meetings lined up with regional investors for a candle and home goods launch under the As Ever label. But here is where it unraveled fast. None of these planned activities were registered with the UAE Ministry of Economy, nor were they disclosed in official visa documentation. Authorities concluded she was likely entering the country with the intent to conduct commercial and media activity without proper clearance, a direct violation of immigration and business licensing rules. Once the entry denial hit, the dominoes started falling immediately. By February 5th, a $3.2 million influencer collaboration with Sahara Beauty Group was suspended. A co-branded editorial shoot with Alba Elegance magazine was pulled from publication. Regional retailer Zen Magis exited distribution talks tied to Meghan's fragrance and marmalade lines, citing reputational uncertainty as the deciding factor. Perhaps the clearest signal came next. A scheduled sit-down interview with Al Rabia English, set for March 2nd and intended as Meghan Markle's reintroduction to Middle Eastern audiences, was quietly removed from the network's calendar. She arrived with a strategy but without stability, said one Dubai media consultant who reviewed the proposals. This region is extremely image-conscious. The assessment was blunt. When a public figure arrives carrying unresolved legal disputes, royal controversy, and inconsistent messaging, it is viewed as a liability, not an opportunity. And while ambitions collapsed in the UAE, new legal clouds gathered elsewhere. In California, Tyler Perry has reportedly filed preliminary claims alleging fraudulent asset usage. The filings claim that his personal financial support for Meghan and Prince Harry's security and housing in 2020 was later leveraged for commercial storytelling purposes without authorization, opening yet another front in an already widening crisis. A source close to Tyler Perry says he believed he was funding a temporary safe house, nothing more. That understanding reportedly collapsed when the support was later reframed into streaming content and PR leverage tied to Archewell, turning private assistance into public-facing media value. Once valued as a multi-million-dollar blend of goodwill and influence, Archewell now faces serious scrutiny. In late January, the Internal Revenue Service confirmed the foundation had been flagged for unusual administrative expenses and unexplained contractor payments. Several international transfers reportedly lacked sufficient documentation, raising immediate compliance concerns. Across the Atlantic, pressure is building as well. The Charity Commission for England and Wales has reopened its review into Meghan's former UK-linked charitable activity, escalating oversight at a sensitive moment. Even more concerning, reports suggest former staff from both Archewell and the royal household have begun cooperating confidentially with ethics and compliance investigators in both countries. Meghan's exclusion from Dubai now appears to signal far more than a blocked entry. For many observers, it marks a turning point in her credibility as a global public figure. Attempts to pivot into soft diplomacy, global branding, or royal-adjacent influence are increasingly colliding with unpaid obligations, fractured alliances, and growing institutional resistance. After years of presenting herself as a voice for empowerment and survival, Meghan Markle now faces a harsher narrative. The image being formed is no longer one of resilience, but of a destabilizing brand struggling to function without borrowed legitimacy. Even Saudi Arabia, once floated as a potential next destination, is now reportedly reassessing all back-channel outreach. One senior Gulf official summed it up bluntly: "She carries media gravity, but not the kind you want near your throne." That statement alone sent international media into overdrive, signaling just how fast the tide has turned. A Toronto-based investigative podcast titled The Archive Room dropped a shockwave late on February 6th with a bombshell episode that instantly set off alarms. The episode featured a masked voice testimony widely believed to belong to celebrity chef Corey Vitiello, Meghan Markle's long-term partner from 2012 to 2015. Though the speaker was never identified by name, listeners pointed to the highly specific timelines, apartment details, and legal references that closely matched publicly known facts from that period. The audio was digitally altered, but the delivery was calm, controlled, and deliberate. What followed reignited long-simmering speculation about Meghan Markle's alleged undisclosed marital history. Around the 32-minute mark, the speaker claimed first-hand awareness of a sealed marriage certificate dated 2011, reportedly filed in Bibb County, Georgia. He stated that he became aware of the record during their time living together in Toronto. "She told me once while packing for a weekend in New York that certain mistakes had been handled legally," the speaker said. She used the phrase, "clean slate." Listeners immediately connected the remark to long circulating, but never officially confirmed rumors that Meghan had been briefly married to an American businessman named Joe Giuliano prior to meeting Prince Harry. The podcast is hosted by investigative journalist Lydia Markham, a former Royal Affairs contributor to The Globe and Mail. Within just 36 hours, the episode pulled in an estimated 8.3 million downloads, an explosive response by any standard. Major media outlets across the UK, Canada, and the United States rushed to publish transcripts and analysis pieces, triggering a second wave of scrutiny aimed directly at Buckingham Palace. Equally damaging were the details surrounding the alleged breakup. The speaker claimed that in August 2015, Meghan abruptly left Toronto for what was described as a short trip to New York, never returned to their shared apartment, and cut off all communication entirely. "There was no closure, no explanation, just silence," the voice said. Looking back, many listeners say the timing lines up a little too perfectly with the start of her public rebranding phase. The testimony directly clashes with Meghan Markle's long-standing public claim that she had been single for more than a year before meeting Prince Harry in July 2016. That contradiction has now triggered formal concern inside royal circles over whether her personal timeline was accurately represented during her introduction to the royal family. Legal analysts speaking on BBC Radio 4 and CBC News said that if a sealed marriage record does exist and was not disclosed, it could amount to a breach of royal marital disclosure protocols. That assessment raised the stakes instantly, shifting the issue from rumor to potential procedural violation. A senior advisor to Charles III confirmed to Royal Newswire that the palace's legal division has launched an internal record search across 3 separate departments. Those include the Lord Chamberlain's office, the Cabinet Office, and the Home Office, all tasked with reviewing archival submissions tied to Meghan's pre-wedding disclosures. The core question is sharp and specific. Did Meghan ever submit a non-disclosure clause, redacted history, or amended personal record prior to her 2018 royal wedding? Following the podcast release, Meghan's team issued a short media statement from Montecito labeling the episode a targeted act of character defamation. They claimed the allegations were built on conjecture and unauthorized insinuation, pushing back hard in the court of public opinion. Yet one detail stood out immediately. No legal injunction has been filed, and no formal denial of any alleged Giuliano marriage has been submitted as of this writing. That silence only intensified scrutiny. By early February 7th, the name Joe Giuliano began trending rapidly across social platforms. Soon after, a video surfaced showing Giuliano briefly approached by reporters outside a cafe in Miami, turning a background figure into the newest focal point of an already explosive story. Though he refused full interviews, Joe Giuliano responded to a single shouted question with just one line. "I don't erase people I once loved," he said. The brief clip, only 14 seconds long, detonated across TikTok and X, pulling in more than 19 million views within 24 hours. Hashtags tied to the clip surged instantly, including Meghan sealed marriage, Giuliano files, and Vitiello testimony. The trend went global, forcing the royal family into yet another round of emergency media containment. Insiders at Windsor confirmed that Charles III was briefed again late on the night of February 6th. The king reportedly ordered his advisors to compile a comprehensive dossier. That file would include media assets, dating timelines, archived interviews, and any potential contradictions found in Meghan's previously filed biographies and public statements. Palace officials privately expressed serious concern that the credibility of royal vetting standards could be permanently damaged if the allegations prove accurate. As one internal source put it bluntly, "The monarchy is not just symbolic, it must uphold due diligence. This is no longer only about her, it is about what we failed to detect." The fallout from the Archive Room episode has now eclipsed earlier Sussex controversies in both scale and diplomatic sensitivity. Meanwhile, Meghan Markle's continued silence beyond her initial response has only intensified speculation. Public opinion is now sharply divided between those defending her right to privacy and those demanding institutional accountability. Behind the scenes, the response escalated fast. On February 7th, just hours after the podcast crossed 8 million streams, Meghan launched an aggressive counteroffensive from her Montecito estate. Sources confirm she convened an emergency legal strategy meeting inside Archewell's private crisis response suite, signaling that the next phase of this battle is already underway. According to leaked briefing notes reviewed by Royal Newswire, the agenda inside the emergency meeting was ruthless and tightly structured. 4 immediate objectives were laid out without hesitation. First, discredit Corey Vitiello's character through indirect PR placements. Second, prepare legal warning strategies aimed at suppressing further mentions of Joe Giuliano. Third, reframe Meghan's Canadian chapter as exaggerated or fabricated lore rather than documented history. And fourth, fast-track the launch of a rebranded personal business identity under the Ever trademark before noon on February 7th. Within hours, the media response rolled out almost in sync. 3 gossip columnists, 2 US-based and 1 Canadian, published strikingly similar narratives portraying Vitiello as a fame-seeker and passive-aggressive opportunist. Each piece cited anonymous sources close to Meghan and repeated talking points like he resented her rising profile and he believed she owed her success to his culinary network. The coordination did not go unnoticed. Forensic metadata analysis by independent watchdog site PR Trace confirmed that at least one of the columns had been formally pitched by a publicist from LSM Strategies. That firm has reportedly been under contract with Archewell Creative since late 2025, raising immediate red flags about narrative orchestration. The pressure campaign expanded to broadcast media next. 2 U.S. morning talk shows preparing video segments were served pre-litigation warning letters from law firm Henderson and Roth LLP. The letters demanded retraction of any content linking Meghan to unverified premarital legal records, citing defamation exposure and reputational sabotage claims aimed at protecting an established public figure. The message was clear and aggressive: control the narrative, shut down the names, and move the brand forward at speed, no matter how loud the backlash had become. Separate from the Vitiello-focused push, Meghan Markle's legal representative moved quickly on another front. A provisional cease and desist notice was submitted to the archive room and its host, Lydia Markham, challenging the use of digitally altered voice testimony without a signed waiver. Legal scholars noted that while no identity was explicitly confirmed, the complaint centers on implication rather than direct attribution. Behind the scenes, Meghan's team is pushing a broader legal argument. They are seeking to establish that any reference to an alleged sealed marriage, even without direct naming, constitutes harmful insinuation and reputational damage. It is a strategy aimed at narrowing the space for indirect commentary, not just factual claims. At the same time, pressure ramped up across social platforms. X received more than 150 coordinated takedown requests targeting posts using the Giuliano Files hashtag, citing privacy invasion, harassment, and manipulated context. Many of those requests were denied under public discourse and information interest standards, limiting the reach of the effort. Perhaps the boldest move came next. Internal documents from a Montecito PR strategy session reveal plans to fully reframe Meghan's Toronto years. The 2012 to 2015 period is now being positioned as a strictly career-focused phase, with personal relationships reduced to casual or peripheral connections. To support that narrative, a series of posts and interviews were quietly arranged with former colleagues and acquaintances from Suits. Each appearance repeated near-identical language, stressing that Meghan was entirely focused on work during her time in Toronto. One line surfaced again and again: her only serious relationship was her craft. The goal is unmistakable. By minimizing personal ties and emotional depth from that era, the strategy seeks to distance Meghan from any suggestion of cohabitation or long-term personal entanglement, tightening control over a timeline now under intense scrutiny. A fresh leak dated February 6th poured gasoline on the fire. An internal email revealed that Meghan Markle had written directly to a Netflix executive stating, "Corey's chapter must be erased. It's not aligned with the new Duchess narrative." That phrase exploded online under the hashtag #EraseTheChapter, quickly becoming a shorthand symbol for claims that Meghan was attempting to retroactively sanitize her public biography amid mounting scrutiny. The legal pivot followed immediately. On February 7th, Meghan filed emergency copyright and trademark applications for a new brand identity titled Ever, according to public records from the United States Patent and Trademark Office. The filings span wellness products, streaming content, skincare, organic beverages, and personal development courses, signaling a sweeping commercial reset. Insiders say the Ever pivot was designed to create clear distance from the Sussex identity, which remains legally and reputationally entangled with the British Crown. Internally, Meghan's team drafted multiple press releases positioning Ever as a forward-facing legacy platform for empowered women. But the resistance was immediate. Sussex Legal UK, the body overseeing royal-linked trademarks, filed a formal objection on February 8th, citing brand confusion tied to the Sussex titles and ongoing restrictions on their use. The commercial fallout accelerated fast. Whole Foods Market withdrew from distribution talks for 2 Meghan-branded product lines, including an herbal tea collection and a signature fragrance, citing unresolved reputational risk and alignment concerns. At the same time, Spotify quietly terminated development on Meghan's planned podcast series, which had been slated for a summer 2026 launch. The pattern was unmistakable. As efforts intensified to rewrite the past and launch a new future, institutional resistance, legal pushback, and commercial hesitation were closing in from every direction. According to an internal memo leaked to Variety, the streaming giant described the situation as no longer viable for long-term investment while remaining entangled with Windsor-linked fallout. A source close to Charles III confirmed that his team had been fully briefed on Meghan's countermeasures, including aggressive legal tactics and what advisors described as deliberate digital footprint manipulation. The response inside the palace escalated immediately. A special session of the Privy Communications Council was convened on the morning of February 8th, with the King instructing senior advisors to begin outlining the constitutional, financial, and reputational consequences of a complete Sussex detachment. This was no longer theoretical planning, it was active damage control. During that session, a draft scenario titled Unbinding Protocol, Sussex chapter was circulated among top officials. The document outlined step-by-step procedures covering royal website asset removals, public distancing frameworks, annulment of titles and privileges, travel access limitations, and coordinated visa reviews through the Home Office. The scope alone signaled just how serious the moment had become. One senior official summed up the shift in tone with chilling clarity. "Her silence would have been tolerable," the source said, "but this is resistance through erasure. And the Crown does not erase history to soothe discomfort." As Meghan Markle intensified efforts to reshape and reframe key chapters of her personal history, the backlash from individuals directly affected by those revisions began reaching critical mass. What started as narrative defense was now colliding head-on with institutional memory, and that collision was unfolding in full public view. The silence that once insulated her public image finally cracked under the weight of direct responses, legal escalation, and rising public doubt. On the morning of February 8th, Chef Corey Vitiello formally filed a civil defamation lawsuit against Meghan Markle at the Ontario Superior Court of Justice. The claim, reviewed by Royal Newswire's legal desk, alleges Meghan knowingly distorted and misrepresented their past relationship to undermine his credibility and erase their shared history. The filing points directly to her off-camera remark from February 3rd describing him as a mistake, alongside leaked communications with Netflix in which she allegedly wrote, "Corey's chapter must be erased." It also cites a pattern of coordinated media narratives portraying Vitiello as a fame-driven ex, a framing his legal team says was deliberate and damaging. Vitiello is seeking 2.5 million Canadian dollars in reputational damages along with a formal public retraction. In a statement, his counsel stressed that the lawsuit is not about money, but about restoring dignity and correcting the public record. The move stunned observers, marking a sharp shift from a figure long praised for staying silent and private. That same day, attention snapped back to Florida. Joe Giuliano, the man long rumored to be Meghan's first husband, was spotted by reporters at a cafe in Miami's Wynwood district. Though he declined formal interviews, he delivered one measured line that cut straight through the noise. "I don't erase people I once loved." The clip, just 14 seconds long, aired across major US networks and surged globally online. While Giuliano neither confirmed nor denied any legal relationship, legal analysts widely viewed his words as a subtle but pointed rejection of what they describe as narrative revisionism. Observers now believe Giuliano's public reappearance after years of silence may signal a willingness to cooperate with formal inquiries or provide documentation if officially requested, as scrutiny continues to intensify by the hour. Two women linked to Prince Harry's past relationships broke their long silence with indirect but sharply felt public remarks. One post, shared more than 1.3 million times, read, "Some people spend more time deleting the past than building the future." Royal commentators immediately interpreted the line as a thinly veiled jab aimed straight at Meghan Markle. Adding fuel to the moment, Chelsea Davy, long known for her discretion on royal matters, replied to a follower in a now-deleted comment, "History isn't something you curate, it's something you own." While neither post mentioned Meghan by name, both reinforced a growing perception inside royal circles that the Duchess is being viewed less as a survivor and more as a revisionist. By February 9th, the tone shift became impossible to ignore. Major editorial boards that had once defended Meghan's right to privacy began changing course. The Times, the Globe and Mail, and the Washington Post all published opinion pieces criticizing what they described as curated omission, strategic memory control, and weaponized erasure. The criticism spilled onto television next. During a joint segment on Good Morning Britain, 3 former palace correspondents said the fallout now eclipses the Oprah interview era entirely. They argued the damage cuts deeper because it raises questions of honesty, not just toward the public, but toward the crown itself. The reputational impact quickly turned commercial. Whole Foods Market officially confirmed the cancellation of 2 product lines tied to Meghan's upcoming Ever brand. At the same time, Spotify released a quiet statement on February 8th, confirming its full exit from all Sussex-related podcasting agreements. Inside Buckingham Palace, the mood had hardened. Charles III was briefed that public opinion had shifted from divided to openly skeptical. Internal polling conducted by the Privy Communications Office showed 61% of UK respondents believe Meghan deliberately omitted or altered parts of her pre-royal history for image management, a figure that stunned senior advisors and confirmed that the narrative tide has decisively turned. On the evening of February 8th, the King's Advisory Council submitted a working draft labeled the Full Severance Memorandum. The document outlined a coordinated legal and communication strategy designed to finalize Meghan Markle's removal from royal records, privileges, and institutional benefits, pending further developments as public outrage surged and legal pressure intensified on both sides of the Atlantic. By dawn on February 10th, Charles III authorized a sequence of rapid and irreversible actions. Those measures effectively severed Meghan from the institutional memory of the British monarchy, closing the chapter at 3:40 GMT. Her designation as Duchess of Sussex was removed from formal operational frameworks, and her presence in ongoing royal functions was officially nullified. Later that morning, the royal family's official website was quietly updated. Meghan's biography, image gallery, and marriage timeline vanished without announcement. In their place appeared a brief administrative notation stating she was no longer associated with official duties. The silent change triggered immediate inquiries from global media outlets. Palace Communications offered no expanded explanation, citing only the revised Royal Communications Act 2025, which permits immediate removal of individuals deemed to pose sustained reputational harm to the institution. All links to Meghan's former patronages were disabled. Archived speeches, royal tour photographs, and joint appearances with Prince Harry were either unlisted or moved into restricted access archives reserved for credentialed press use only. The symbolism did not end there. That same morning, Princess Anne attended a previously scheduled dedication ceremony at the Royal Academy of Military Science. While the event was unrelated, she added an unscripted line to her closing remarks that landed with unmistakable weight. "It takes integrity to stand under scrutiny. It takes courage to own one's history." For many watching, the message was impossible to miss. "And it takes truthfulness to earn the right to serve." That final line landed hard and drew sustained applause from the uniformed audience, instantly read by UK and international media as a pointed condemnation of Meghan Markle's conduct. Notably, it marked the first time a senior working royal other than the king had publicly alluded to the controversy referenced repeatedly in internal palace briefings. Sources close to Princess Anne described the remark as sanctioned yet unscripted. They say the Princess Royal was deeply unsettled by what she viewed as an alleged manipulation of royal trust and institutional goodwill. Her words, though brief, carried the weight of internal consensus rather than personal opinion. That same evening, Charles III took the stage at the Royal Archive Centennial Gala inside Windsor Castle. While the event was formally billed as a celebration of preservation and historical integrity, the king used his keynote to deliver what many described as a final and deliberate judgment. "We must preserve not just records and facts, but the courage to face them." History need not be edited to make it comfortable. It stands as it was lived and shall not be rewritten to serve convenience. The audience, made up of historians, archivists, and diplomatic figures, immediately grasped the implication. Though Meghan was never named, royal analysts across multiple networks interpreted the remarks as a symbolic execution of her royal narrative. By morning, the phrase, "history shall not be rewritten," dominated headlines across Europe and North America. Behind the scenes, consequences followed fast. According to internal government correspondence leaked to Royal Newswire, the Royal Legal Office issued a formal notice to the Home Office on February 9th. The document requested a comprehensive review of Meghan's visa status, travel classifications, and all official records tied to title-based privileges. The message from the institution was unmistakable. History would stand, records would remain intact, and no individual narrative would be allowed to overwrite the Crown's institutional memory. Though the Duchess remains a U.S. citizen, her diplomatic classification has now been formally revised. A Home Office official confirmed she is to be treated strictly as a private American citizen, with no active royal designation, a move that carries real weight in protocol-heavy settings like state funerals, G7-level invitations, and ceremonial precedents. The commercial fallout hit immediately and without mercy. Whole Foods Market terminated negotiations tied to the ever-organic product line. Netflix confirmed the indefinite shelving of the Meghan 2026 documentary. Spotify removed all promotional materials connected to her unreleased audio series. By February 10th, every major commercial platform tied to Meghan had gone dark, including Archewell's press site, which was stripped of media kits and future event calendars. For 3 consecutive days, Meghan Markle was not seen in public. British tabloids quickly labeled the silence the Montecito disappearance. Her team declined all comment, with the only visible movement coming from attorneys filing emergency copyright defenses tied to the Ever brand. According to Royal House Procedure Archives, the last time an individual was removed this comprehensively from royal records was during the abdication crisis of Edward VIII. Even then, Edward retained a formal historical entry. Palace staff now reportedly refer to Meghan's file as fully sealed, archived under a newly created sovereign classification denoting permanent royal disassociation. In a final private instruction before departing Windsor, Charles III wrote to the Lord Chamberlain's office, "Closure is not about vengeance. It is about protecting the crown from erasure." And with that, Meghan Markle's chapter within the British royal family was formally closed. If you want timelines that connect, receipts that matter, and stories the headlines only hint at, make sure you subscribe to CelebRush. Watch the other videos on the channel for full breakdowns, updates, and deep dives as this story continues to unfold.